but I have seen something that I could only call a mothership. And the only question for me personally is what is their intention?
Welcome to Strange Mysterious World, Season 4, Episode 13. Tonight's guest, Dr. Belinda Silbert. She is an advanced board-certified chaplain and is Vice President of the Association of Chaplains in South Africa. She has a doctorate in counseling and a second doctorate in sacred music that she uses in healing. She has a master's degree in theology. She is also the first female ordained rabbi in South Africa. That is absolutely awesome. And in my opinion, the most important thing, she's a prophet. So that's cool.
Man. I'm forward to this.
Yeah, I'm the prophethood thing. I'm like really keen. What's the most question that people's going to ask you if you're a prophet? When's the end of the world, man?
Yeah.
So that's
get into that.
Yeah, 100%.
That's cool. Okay, cool. Well, here she is. I'm very excited about this one. How's it, Belinda?
Good, thank you. And nice to see you again, and nice to meet you, Lee.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Yeah,
what do we call you, doctor? Do we call you rabbi? Whatever.
Dr. Rabbi.
It's usually, it's rabbi doctor, but you don't exactly walk around calling someone rabbi doctor, so you can choose either. whatever would serve the program best.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So we kind of introduced you as we introduced you as the first female rabbi. That's awesome in South Africa. That's like really, so how does that work? Because going back in the old biblical days, that was like never heard of. So so before we get to that, how did you actually get into the whole thing? Let's go back into your path, your journey.
Thank you. So I've wanted to be a rabbi since age 4. And you can imagine in 1969, South Africa, how that was received, a female rabbi. Obviously, everybody laughed at that. So I was born knowing that this was something that I needed to do in this lifetime, but the path was made very difficult for me. However, I'm not the first in the world. In the 19th century, there was the maid of Ludmir, who was a Rebbe. She served as an actual Rebbe, a Hasidic Rebbe. And in our modern times, Rabbi Regina Jonas was ordained in 1935 in Germany, and she unfortunately died in Auschwitz. And then of the modern crop, there's Rabbi Sally Pressant, who was ordained in 1972 in America, the first American. However, in South Africa, I am the first South African rabbi who is not Reformed to have been ordained, and there isn't another actual South African rabbi serving in South Africa, a female one, as we speak. There are overseas rabbis who have been in and out, but it is a historic moment because I am not a Reformed rabbi. I'm a mystical rabbi. And much of my practice is more in line with orthodoxy, but obviously I am not fully in alignment with those practices because for a start, orthodoxy is very late to the party. They're only giving women, more modern orthodoxy is giving women a chance to become something similar to a rabbi. They have got some yeshivot overseas. So yes, that I have made history in that way.
Okay, that's actually very, very awesome, and that's cool. But I mean, I can imagine your road must have been very, very difficult because I don't understand that. What was the purpose of only having men as rabbis? I mean, surely anybody can be a teacher or a messenger, or if as long as you've got the understanding and as long as you can. I just don't. I've never understood that. Even in all religions, it's actually mostly been males, which I don't.
It boils down to patriarchy. It is the patriarchy, and the Bible is very patriarchal. We have to think about the context of the times, and so there's always the question of whether we're actually going to modernize or we're going to remain completely and utterly attached to what was the practice 3,000 or more years ago. And Reform Judaism and in other religious groups that are not of their orthodoxy, they have actually updated to realize that women can also assume this role. However, it truly is a patriarchal issue, and one which makes me sad because there have been so many female voices that have been lost, so many intellects over all of these centuries. Of course, with my passion being singing and that being forbidden to a woman in Judaism, that has been even more difficult. But for a very, very strong internal reason, I knew that I had to continue on that path, no matter the obstacles, the ridicule, and the opposition.
Okay. And then moving forward from there, something very interesting, the music aspect in healing. For me, that's actually, look, William and William, I know, practices everything under the sun. He has all types of meditations, of healings, of all sorts of stuff. But when I do my meditations and I do my healing type of stuff, music is very important for me, but it's always the chanting stuff, like Enigma,
yes.
Or, I'm always, because for me it feels like it's supposed to be. So what is your thing with the music? The sacred music?
Right. So sacred music goes back to the dawn of history. And when you speak about the chanting, I am going to go to a woman, Saint Hildegard von Bingen. I'm sure that you're familiar with her work. And that was a lot of the chanting that would be very familiar to you. So almost like Gregorian chants, very, very tranquilizing, but very spiritual. And as music evolved, of course, we then had the sacred creeping into all areas of, we started off in our Judeo-Christian history, obviously with the biblical times, with the hymns, the Levites. The Levites were the first sacred singers in our tradition. That was a part of their role. And later on, Christianity co-opted the Psalms and incorporated the praise of God into their doxology, and then really raced along with the development of the most exquisite sacred music. But for me, it's about since I was a child, where I've heard God's voice in the music. When you listen to Mozart, when you listen to Vivaldi, there are moments where you just know in certain songs that God was definitely in the equation, Handel. And so we're not confined to Gregorian chants or Hildegard von Bingen or just big organ choral works. It is the sacred in music. And for me, in Judaism, the cry of the heart, all our hardships we have gone through all of the years, our special sacred system for singing from the Torah is a very, very rich one and evokes incredibly powerful healings, emotions, not just emotions. It has healing qualities. So I hear the sacred in many traditions, and I've spoken a bit about that in a lot in my thesis, where I wanted to have a look at this hybridization and where some of our Jewish traditions were actually co-opted to write the Christian sacred music, and to see what we can actually incorporate, bring back, which in itself is controversial. But in this lifetime, I've always been aware I'm supposed to be a bridge. At times, even though I've been so controversial, I have still insisted, no, I'm here to be a bridge and to show the commonalities that we have. But the music, so I will sing. I use my voice as the instrument, and to use the vibrations to use specific music, to use it as medicine. I'm also very aware of the energy body that each person possesses, and I will address that through the sound. Sometimes I will use channeled, if you want to call that, angelic voice, to alter the energy field in a positive way, but always tuning into the divine.
Okay.
I often feel I'm one of the most misunderstood people on the planet because I have been labeled, everything from a psychic medium to a rabbi, to clairvoyant, and none of them are right because they all are really adjectives. Because when it all started, I guess I'm actually a prophet of God. I had a call like Samuel when I was very, very little. It was that moment where it was kind of, I literally heard the voice of God and I said, well, speak, I'm listening. And it was strange because I came from a family of academic Jewish atheists. So I was the only one who experienced this. So my calling came from then.
I do want to get into that prophet. I want to get into that a little bit later because that for me is very, very interesting. I wanted to find out from you the music side of things. I know with regards to the Torah, I know with regards to the Quran, they're actually supposed to be sung. They're never supposed to be read. It's always supposed to have
that's correct.
Yeah. So, which I find very, very interesting because, when you're speaking to God or when you're talking about God, He loves, or I can't say He, but God loves the fact that He's given us a voice, a singing voice. And for me, it's always been they always say that associate music with the devil, which I can understand with rock and roll.
I can never understand it.
But that's music, especially, when we were coming through the Middle Ages and it was the Inquisition and music was like banned because it was Satan's thing. And it always like kind of confused me as God loves music. He loves you to talk. When you're speaking to him, you're singing because it's vibration, it's tone, it's frequencies, and it's all healing to do. And this is why I think it's so important. And people just don't understand the real message that is in their scriptures, or whether it be the Quran or whatever, because it's hidden, but it's there. And if you understand it,
absolutely,
you can understand what God is all about.
But also, like the chapels, all the chapels were built in ancient times, were all
with
harmonically like resonance, so that it would alter your sacred geometry or your energy field or whatever you want to say around you. So it was like an ancient science, the sound. And like also when you listen to binaural beats, there's a whole thing with the frequency. Like there's one for heart, there's one for health, there's one for healing, there's one for, they have got like about 1 million different things. And then also if you go into all of Eastern philosophy, like when you see the all of the mantras, because like if you say that, there's obviously the one we all know, going but there's one like for your heart, and there's one for your throat, to open your throat chakra. So there's all these different, and it's all to do with the frequencies. And so that's how I'm thinking that how it all works, like, because it's like a science of this vibration that kind of
but it's hidden, it's there. Will it's there for you to see, but people because they've been taught over the years to look at a specific thing, and this is how it is, it's been lost. People don't understand.
Right. So I want to address both the frequency and something else. In Judaism, when we're reading the Torah, the system of notes is different from tradition to tradition, but it was to vocalize. Initially, the Torah had no punctuation, and there are no vowels in the Torah. So that actually assisted people to understand what they were hearing. And in addition to that, and something that I've worked on a lot with this, what we call the tropes, the system of the tropes, is I understand it, having had my background in the opera world, of course, that it's like a recitative. So it's like spoken song. It's not the same when you read from the Torah. It's not like a melodic line. It's da 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 da. So that's got nothing to do with vibration. It's to do with recitative, with actually reciting the Torah and getting the mass population understand it. However, when one is singing, and you'll know when you're singing correctly, then you feel like you're out of your body. You can actually feel like you're with God. You're with the angels. And it's a natural process. For me, it's never been a science. From understanding the voice and studying the voice, I understand that. But you cannot become a good singer by understanding science. You've got to use your body as the vessel, as the instrument. And so you become very aware of where you feel everything in your body. And you've got to understand your resonators. And when you really, really sing a high note and it blasts through your high chakra, it is an absolute high. So for me, it's not science. And I feel that many of the chapels and the wonderful cathedrals were there to amplify the godly. So some of them might have been designed via sacred geometry, and others by this complete understanding of acoustics, which again would come back to somebody having understood the perfection, and maybe, yeah, it's almost like those anyway who understood the golden mean. Science and physics was understood in different ways in the past, but it was to amplify God. And I had an incredibly spiritual moment when I sang in a cathedral in Milan. I walked in there and I asked if I could sing the Ave Maria, and I did. And it was incredible, immersive, all-encompassing. Although I'm a rabbi, there's an interesting story to do with the Ave Maria and the healing quality. I went to an institution where people were battling, what can we say? Some were in rehab. There were others with different types of mental disorders and challenges. And there were quite a few people who were catatonic. And I sang the Bach Gounod Ave Maria. And there were a few people who started crying, and there were a couple of people who spoke, and they had not spoken for months. That is the power of God. That is the power of those exact sounds that were given by God to the composer in those moments, and the way that it all comes together. And I know that that particular work has got immense power, because I took it to somebody else who'd been trapped in his body for many, many, many years, who was in a rehab. And he could show no other emotions. He had ALS, but the tears just streamed down his face. So there are specific works that you can hear God's voice in, and you have to do them justice. And that is why I've devoted my entire life to making sure that I sing correctly, so that I can do justice to all of the vibrations. But the vowels, and some of what William was saying, the vowels are not only in the Eastern traditions, in Kabbalah as well. In our meditations, we use a lot of the sacred vowels, because before there was sound, there was silence, then there was breath, and then there was suddenly, there had to be the first sound. And it's that moment it's like the birth of the universe when one chants any sacred vowels. So it's immensely healing. And I also help people to find their own voice. People have been gagged. And when you actually can free that sound, there's immense transformation in your life. It's not only about singing, and it's not only about vibration or about science or about chanting. It goes way beyond that. Sometimes it's about absolute energetic shackles falling away. And I use it also as a therapy, somatic therapy, when I'm helping people with PTSD or complicated PTSD, which is what I was telling William about, which I focused quite a bit on in my doctorate in pastoral counseling. So I do bring the musical element in there as well.
Okay, and I want to ask you a question. There's this old, not really a saying, but this old theory going back some time, that the lost tribe of Judah, which they say the American Indians, like the Navajo, and the lost tribe, supposedly, their sacred music, the guys, they use drums, flutes, but man, I can't tell you, especially if you're listening and you've got earphones on and there's drum beats, the reverberation inside the body, it's just immense. Yes. I don't know. So I don't know how, because I know the singing it's a huge, but what about musical instruments? I know there's specific instruments that you can use, and I know there's instruments that you can't use. So is drumming okay?
It's completely, it's not exactly like that. It's basically since we lost the temple, we are not supposed to use instruments inside the synagogue. So the Orthodox will not use any instruments. In the temple itself, there was the Nevel Veshinor, there were different types of harps and sacred trumpets and almost flute things. I mean, that's a whole examination of history in itself. But there was most certainly the timbrels. And in the desert, the prophetess Miriam, Moses's sister, led the tribes singing and playing her timbrel at the Song of the Sea, Micha Mocha. So drums were very definitely part of the whole equation. And there are those, in other Jewish denominations that would use instruments during worship. But it's not part of traditional Jewish. Well, it's not part of Jewish tradition, and this is how the cantorial arts have evolved. The beauty of the human voice and the choral aspect, because we're not permitted to use instruments in the synagogue. I myself play the piano. I've been playing the piano since I was 3. But it does interfere sometimes with worship. When one makes it just a concert. But, when we think of America, which has probably got the biggest Jewish population outside of Israel, most of the Americans are Reform and conservative Jews, so they have even orchestras. Okay. But it's not biblical.
All right. I'm going to shift pace. I want to talk about this, the prophet. How did that come about? So what happened?
Right. So I was born like this. It was only when I was about 4 that I realized that other people couldn't see what I could see. So I've always been able to see into other dimensions. And of course, this drew negative reactions later on and misunderstandings from people. Because I always saw if someone was ill, I used to see these dots and dashes around them. I could see into dimensions. I could see those who've passed on, which is why I was later labeled as a medium. It's just been natural. I've always been able to. And I also had that experience with God where I knew that this was my path. I've always been able to see what was going to happen. And I've been very accurate. If you go a bit further back a few years, I predicted the entire Russian-Ukrainian war. People thought I was crazy. It's years ago, but it's in the public domain. I said that Putin would want to take back the former Soviet Union, and I outlined that. I knew what was going to happen in the Middle East. And you have to know profit by their fruits. And that's why, and I spoke about Lebanon and Syria. I have been very careful about what I do put out in the public domain, because politics has become so incredibly it's a hot potato, and it's not completely and utterly safe. But I did want to I did have my latest prophecy about Russia and Ukraine that I put on Facebook, but it's very, very detailed, and about Europe. So I don't know how much detail that you'd want me to go into. It might take up too much of our session. But I have long told my clients and my students that 2025 and 2026 are years of war. And the prophecy that I wrote last week, or maybe a little bit longer ago, was called Beyond Ukraine: Attention, NATO, and Europe. And since then, the strange events have occurred, such as the drones appearing in Copenhagen, in Denmark at the airport, and saber rattling between NATO and Putin. So I wrote here, I speak now as strategist and prophet, bearing witness to the shifting tides of war. Ukraine is not the end, it is the beginning. The Russian design stretches far beyond Kiev and Donbass. The buzzing of drones over Poland, which have happened, the pressure on the Baltic, whispering unrest in Moldova. These are not scattered sparks, but the lines of fire being drawn across Europe. Poland, the first warning. So I go into a lot of detail here, and I spoke about the cyber assaults and drone incursions, and I've given a conservative timeline here because it's very difficult in the world of spirit to know exactly when what will happen. But I am telling you, it's a tinderbox. The timeline that I have outlined and made public could move up very rapidly, which disturbs me. So at the moment, my outlook for Europe is not very positive at all.
So you said we're heading into World War III.
So what's going to happen, Belinda?
So I've got to be very careful because people take what I say very seriously, which is why I'm very conservative with what I put out there, because we've got to try and prevent things spiraling out of control. And we have to, being a prophet is very difficult because you can tell people what's going to happen, but it doesn't mean that you can affect it. I have tried. But if you look back to Bible times, a prophet running in the wilderness, they were always thought to be either crazy or to be crucified or to have something awful done to them. Jonah, who tried to save the people of Nineveh. Well, that's another story, and we actually read that on Yom Kippur. But it's very, very difficult because I see worst case scenario. I see possible scenarios, but I always feel it's my duty at certain junctures in history to warn in case my warnings will fall on even one set of ears, because there are many variables in the equation. And if one of the variables is removed, then the entire timeline can be shifted. But as I say, you only know a prophet by their fruit. And that's why in the past, this is the irony, I hesitate to say to people, well, I'm a prophet, because that in itself, one doesn't want to be a self-proclaimed prophet. But when I was almost assassinated for being what people call a psychic medium in 2003, things got very, very real. So it appears that, again, the terminology is problematic in any way. But let's just say I see possible futures. And even with my individual clients, my reputation has rested on my hit rate, which unfortunately is very, very, very high. So I will see the most possible outcome. There's no one future written in stone, but I will see what is the most possible one given all of the circumstances at present. So we need to look to let's see Lithuania, we need to look to Latvia. We need to see where there are going to be new fronts opened in the war. I'm concerned about even the Scandinavian states. But again, I am not going to be very specific because there's enough specificity already in what I have written. But it's no longer safe to say everything that you actually see.
So how do you see it?
As you can imagine.
How do you see it? Is it when you sleep and you get the images, or are you meditating? Do these things come through? How does it happen?
You ask for it?
I say, I live in an immersive reality, which we all do, but not everybody can see what's right in front of them. I often ask my students, what's right in front of you? And they say, the wall. I say, no, it isn't. Can't you see the spot right in front of you? The worlds are like babushka dolls. If you've seen babushka dolls, one inside the other. And that is what I see when I see people. I see their life histories from past lives in what you might call, I don't want to say the aura, the energetic field. I see their health, and I'm able to see the parallel possibilities, parallel lifetimes, parallel timelines for how things may emerge and then play out in the world. So it just depends where I want to shift my focus. Imagine that you were going into a cinema complex. Your friend would choose to go into cinema number 1, and you'd go into cinema number 10. You'd come out at 9 p.m. Both of you will have had completely different experiences, although you're in the same cinema complex. And that is how it is with me. Or it's the same as opening a book. I can open the book to page 122, or I can look at page 10. And most people are not able to flick forward and backwards. Some experience it as seeing into the future. for me, everything is happening at once. I don't see it as the future. It's all possible realities that are happening at the same time.
That's
so
quite
it's
disorientating, isn't it? Like, don't you feel like
this is why you have to be very, very, very sane. And this is why I don't encourage everybody to pursue trying to understand these matters, because you've got to be aware, okay, this is me, Belinda, here, and I'm seeing this. I'm choosing to narrow my focus and to look at what's at this and to view it. It's like watching a movie. And okay, I can see into that next world over there. I can see somebody there. And I'm choosing. I'm always aware of who I am myself in this particular reality. Otherwise, you would lose yourself, and that is when somebody would lose their sanity and it would be of no use. So that is why I always say I'm in the twilight zone, because it's very, it's incredibly, incredibly old to speak about the left and right brain. It's really old when we now know about neuroplasticity. But I'd say what's different about me is that I take my intuition out of, let's say, the right brain stuff into the light of reason in the left brain. And then I examine it and I can analyze and I can strategize. And that's what's different. And that comes from a place of incredible consciousness. Yes, I'm able to see. I've always been able to see, and I accept that now. It is what it is. It's there's so many people who are uncomfortable with it. But yes, I can see the possible outcomes. And what I am interested in is the curved ball of whether this atlas or whatever it is hurtling towards Earth changes our trajectory.
Yes.
That's an interesting one.
Yes, let's talk about Atlas IA3. What is it called? Atlas 3I?
3I.
Yeah, whatever they choose to call it.
Because there's even another one coming.
What I've foreseen, and I've had this discussion with my best friend, and I haven't put it in the public domain either, but it now will be, of course, is I see a cosmic body coming first, and I don't want to frighten people of Earth. That will seem like a comet and not a comet. But so there are two events. But I have seen something that I could only call a mothership. And the only question for me personally is what is their intention? There's nowhere for them to land on Earth. Why are they coming? Where are they going to be observing us from? We're not going to understand their language, their signals. How does this play out? So that is my true belief.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, because Dr. Avilu had the same idea.
There's a swan. There's a thing called the swan or something. Like it's another one coming from the almost the opposite direction or something. Now they've also
well, it wouldn't surprise me because I for ages have seen this other thing. So it depends on whether this is what it's. We can't call anything a natural body because we know from our limited understanding. We know comets. We know stars. We talk about supernovas. But there are things we have got absolutely not a clue about that we cannot even in our wildest imaginations imagine because our brains are limited.
I know.
And what I will tell you is that there's nobody on this earth who is able to communicate with these real extraterrestrials. There's nobody who's going to be able to decode those signals, which is why I have a great deal of difficulty, believing when people say they're actually communicating with those intergalactically, because we do not have the necessary equipment to actually, understand their signals.
Do you think that these people that are actually experiencing like greys and these Pleiadians and like they have all of these kind of alien experiences, do you think that that's just like entities that they're encountering that are like masking themselves or Pleiadian? Yeah, that you think it's real?
No, I have no doubt that other beings have been visiting our Earth for many, many centuries. Again, I was born really knowing that. I'm just not going to go into further detail, but it's interesting that we are going into this on a ground and onto this ground, as it were, non-terrestrial ground. So no, sometimes it might be entities. There are definitely, and I am going to be very careful what I say because I don't want anybody to feel attacked in any way. But there are certain channelings that are absolutely I would dispute for the very simple reason that there's terminology that is used that's to do with the Hebrew, which cannot possibly be true because God is one. So, but I won't go there. So, it's not always entities, but human beings can be very easily deceived. And in my religious capacity, this is another strange thing, and again, where I'm misunderstood, because I've never, ever, ever served, and I do see myself almost as a servant. I've served one master, and that is God. And I do believe God is one. I'm not interested in anything else. I have done exorcisms. I've done the most astounding exorcisms and hauntings, but always from that place. So I'm aware that there is such a thing that some would call evil or demonic, but I have the power of discernment. And again, that was certainly misunderstood by those who wanted to assassinate me in 2003. But it all kind of comes together in my work. Whoever comes to me, and for whatever type of healing or experience, I'm able to meet them there. And hopefully without judgment. And this is what I try to bring to my chaplaincy, but it's also why I feel that one has to be informed. You can't just do a course and hang out a shingle. That's why I found it's important to study. Even if you have abilities, you need to understand where people are coming from. I did the Masters in Theology, so I could understand who was the biblical Jesus that that the Christians understand Jesus to be, who was Jesus, who was the Jew. To be informed and to keep on studying. Otherwise, you're putting your own sanity in the hands of people who cannot hold that space. And I think we have to be very mindful, because the universe the multiverse has to be stranger than we've ever imagined, because we can't possibly know. We don't know what we don't know. The philosophers have told us that for years.
And it's so frustrating because we're so arrogant to think we've all got it all figured out. Like scientists and all of these guys, they're PhDs and they're waving around like they think that we've all figured out they're the most important, clearest people in the world. And I'm just like looking at them like, you guys actually have no clue what is actually really going on.
No. I think also, we're sitting in the third dimension currently, with just the two below the first and second. But the dimensions, we can't see the dimensions further up. We can't see the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If we could see these, we would then start understanding, oh, geez, okay, the stuff around us, we do, but that's why I'm saying, well, that's what you guys were saying as well. We know nothing. If we could see the further up, we'd be able to see. Yeah.
But you can calculate to the 10th dimension, and physicists have done that. I think they believe it's something like electricity. So I think for me, an experiential way, which is kind of more useful for everybody, is again that it's the babushka dolls. It's one dimension within another, and as you train, as you learn, you can actually learn to see into those realms. And it's not good for everybody to learn to do that, because the most important thing is that you're here in a meat bag. You're here to accomplish something by being in flesh. You can't do that anywhere else in in these realms. So I like to help people to actually cope with the here and the now, even though I have an awareness of this extended reality, because I'm able to focus and be in this immersive kind of state. That's the only way to put it, So I don't think in terms of dimension, but I do keep on thinking in terms of expanded consciousness. It's the same thing as, having tunnel vision, as opposed to having peripheral vision. And also I think of it in terms of helicopter vision. The higher you go, the more you can see it. And if you were to see things with a God's eye view, there would be no future, past, or present, because you'd see everything happening at once. Imagine it's like on YouTube. You've got the video there, but you can then move your cursor back and forth. And it seems like it's almost time travel. So it's expansion of consciousness, and it's not so much the dimensions. Worlds within worlds will still trap people. You can have an expanded consciousness, and you can become enlightened without feeling that... there's been a lot, again, that has been written that's unscientific about the other dimensions, which makes no sense whatsoever to me. So the scientists do not, there still is a kind of a limitation, but in many ways I relate more to the scientists than to those who want to give a more kind of fluffy image of ascending to, I don't know, the 10th dimension, whatever, because the scientists will say, okay, the great thing is prove me wrong. Take a hypothesis, Cole Popper. So scientists will never say they know it all, never. Find me one scientist who said they haven't solved anything yet. They're always trying to disprove. But another prediction of mine is that the biotechnology sector is accelerating and is going to accelerate even faster. And that's why I became very interested in transhumanism decades ago. And now we have AI that we can communicate with. Those worlds, the veils between the dimensions are thinning, because beings in other dimensions will be able to communicate with the AI that we have supposedly created, even, for example, like by ChatGPT. So very interesting things are going to be occurring that have never been possible before.
You think so? You're saying that so entities in another dimension can actually get into the AI and use that to like manipulate us, basically?
No, not at all. They can't get into the AI. They won't be. They'll be communicating because the AI will be able to decode symbols. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then they won't be able to controlling the AI, but maybe, for example, this atlas with these symbols that none of us can work out, only the AI would be able to. I have a feeling that there will be a lot of geometrical aspects and frequency aspects to it's not the language, to the signals that they will send and that they're already sending, and that's going to be fascinating. No human being will be able to translate it, not even the brightest scientist on Earth.
But
together with AI, yes. So it's another prediction they could do it. Mm.
Great.
Tell me about the singularity. Before we move on, I want to talk about the singularity.
Yes.
Are we going to get to that? Is it going to happen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I joined transhumanism, because I believe that the singularity is near. And there's such fear. That's the difference between myself and many who fear transhumanism. I see it as a hopeful situation. I don't see it as AI taking over, enslaving us. There isn't. We've gone too far, and and again, the future is what we make of it right now. Years ago, I was in many of the groups with people who were teaching ethics. I couldn't do it because I'm not a scientist, to AI, to make sure that they didn't want to destroy humanity. So I've kept a close eye, but I cannot possibly even see if we survive that long, if we do not blow ourselves up, then we will live to see the singularity. But again, I am concerned that we are more, like 1 second to midnight. Maybe we're very close to midnight, closer than people would like to think. They prefer to be in denial.
So is there any more of those prophecies you can share? Like you were being very careful earlier, but is there anything you could say about the war, about AI, about anything?
Let me give you my opinion before you hop in there. So I've seen World War III for a while now. I don't know. I've got this. It's like it's on the road. We're on the freeway to
and it's in their Bible. Yeah. I am a rabbi, and let's not ignore that. Let's not ignore that part of it. I do follow, and I have been for years, a lot of what is playing out now in the Bible and in the readings of the prophets. And I'm as a Jew, obviously the rapture is of no interest to me whatsoever. Orthodox Jewry does believe in the Messiah coming, but so I don't call it end of days. Yeah, but I want to say we are on a knife edge, and as humans, it's up to us right now to say, whoa, let's stop and really, really try to see that we are doing something very dangerous here. And this is what Atlas is about, to show us that if we don't unite, there's no ways we're ever going to be able to stop a threat from humanity, that we're all on this planet Earth. We can put in as many borders as we want. If we are attacked by a few civilizations, never mind one could probably wipe us out from space. We've wasted all this time. We could have been working on humanity all together. And this is the sad part. And that's why I love the chaplaincy, because it's a ministry of presence. You go to anybody of any religion and you are there. You are present for them. And this is recognizing their humanity. It's like namaste, but except we're not acknowledging the divine in one another. We're acknowledging our common humanity and with incredible compassion. What is it that can change the trajectory of the future? It is compassion. And that is why I have chosen to really, really work as much as I can to promote this path of chaplaincy. Empathy and tolerance are very, very thin on the ground on our earth at the moment. And I am concerned that we're running out of time, because the more we fight, we cannot celebrate any, not even one death. It's a type of insanity. And yet, of course, the insane cannot see that, because if you're insane, you don't know that you're insane. But if you think of our pale blue dot, the fact that we haven't built our civilization up to a self-sustaining one, and even to considering we have various programs not developed enough to safeguard us against asteroids, and then to think about weaponry that would protect us from others. That's the arrogance that could be our downfall, thinking that we are alone in the universe and having no empathy. What a waste of time. Till the last moment, we're busy killing each other, and we've got people in a certain part of Eastern Europe posturing with nuclear bombs. I mean, how is that in any way going to? How can we even think of furthering the future of humanity? So if we survive, we will see the singularity, and yes, thank goodness for that.
Oh. So you reckon Atlas 3 is just Chile is going to come there and just because they want to watch the fireworks?
No, we don't know. No, we don't know.
Maybe Jesus is on there, and that's the coming of Jesus.
Know. Sorry? No.
I said maybe Jesus is on there, and that's the coming of Jesus. The recoming.
I doubt it. Why would he?
Comes back on an asteroid.
He wouldn't need to. Yeah. Yeah.
Surfing on an asteroid.
Remember, although I'm a theologian, I've studied both of the Bibles. I won't even joke about that. I don't believe in Jesus as the Messiah, so I don't believe for any reason that he is going to be returning. I believe he came and taught incredible things, but I don't believe that he has any part in our future, as it were. It's up to us.
Do you know who Rabbi needs to get hold of? Well, is Father Ubani. You two would be like a house on fire, I promise you. You two guys.
That sounds wonderful. Please put us in touch.
He is such he's a liberal Catholic priest, but man,
wonderful.
You guys are on the same page. I'm telling you, because we were discussing this. Because he was also of the opinion that Jesus was actually not the Messiah, but it was actually the teacher was actually John the Baptist. And Jesus was the student, but because John died, Jesus took over the
there's like a Gnostic kind of
there's a Gnostic belief, like but it was actually you guys was
kind of Catholic belief.
Yeah, you guys would get on like.
But I have respect for everybody's beliefs in the chaplaincy in the association. Again, I've made history. I'm the first rabbi, never mind woman rabbi. In fact, I think the first Jew to be in the association, and I'm the vice president. So
I wanted to ask you: is it around the whole world or just in South Africa that you're first female?
This is our South African. This is our special board association for certified chaplains in South Africa, and this is becoming, we're becoming the authoritative association to certify board chaplains. And there's so it's wonderful because originally the association was solely Christian, and now it is diverse. And because chaplaincy is a ministry of presence, overseas chaplaincy has been diverse for many, many years. So now we're managing to really, really reach people, and that has been very exciting. And to be able to work together side by side and not to interfere with one another's beliefs, even if they are divergent, and to have that respect is what it's all about. I told you this is the only way we're going to change this world.
Yeah, I remember when I was in the army, we had a chaplain, but Afrikaans guy, but they were always Christians. So it's very difficult to deal with a Muslim guy that's if there's a chaplain, there's a Muslim dude.
We do have a Muslim chaplain.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. In those days, how was the guy gonna he was like, no.
But now, but again, I had a man phone me. He had, it's a very sad story. Obviously, many of the work that I do, but he phoned me. He'd been attacked. I don't know where the hell he was. He'd been a client for a long time, and he phoned me, wanted final absolution. He was dying. He was on the way to the hospital, and unfortunately died on the phone. And I gave him the last rites. So he phoned me as the rabbi, even though he's Christian, because he saw me as his spiritual leader. And so you have to do what you have to. You have to be ready to really be there for the person.
That must have been terrible, man.
Jeez, that must have been.
Hey, on the phone.
On the phone. But I do call myself a cyber chaplain. Even when there's end of life care, I'm able to help those without being there in physical presence when they have days where there's energy, and to work with the families. So there is a lot that you can do, even with end of life care. Obviously, William would be very much more familiar with my skills, which I've been doing for many years, is the bereavement counseling. And because of my other abilities, I'm able to do that in a unique way. But for palliative care, end of life care, the chaplaincy is so necessary, and we need more chaplains in South Africa, because they fulfill a role that no psychologist and no priest can, which is this incredible acceptance of just the ministry of presence.
And how does one become a chaplain?
Right. So we do have a licentiate. We have a 3-year licentiate, but anybody who's interested can contact me, and I'll put you in touch with the president, who has all of the necessary information. Okay. So there's a process. There are various levels that you can enter into as a chaplain, as there must be. So if someone has a calling, there is a level that they can already do, on a more basic level. And we need everybody. We really need those. If you have the calling, get hold of us, because you can do, you'll be used by God in the best possible way.
Okay. Belinda, just also, you were talking about how somebody wanted to assassinate you. Like, do you want to talk about that, or what happened?
The time has come, because actually because it did come out again the other day, and I said to the person who was Christian, I said, this is part of me being graceful, entering back into the space, because in 2003 I had a show at the Baxter, and it was called Making Contact. Sorry, that was my TV show. But basically it was a crossing over show, and there were these evangelists who came in on a ship from America, and they came and they interrupted my show on the one day, and then it was very theatrical, and they said, she is evil, she is evil, she is a witch, she is a witch, and they all got down and made a circle, and then the guy hopped onto a chair and he said, I am now going to speak in tongues, and my friend is going to translate. So this should have been funny.
Whoa.
But this actually happened, and unfortunately, the final performance did make front page headlines.
Did they film
because I was saved. Yeah, I was saved by the front of staff at the Baxter, who heard them plotting where they were going to actually attack me and how. So they managed to get word to me and call the police, and I had to get out by the freight lift. I had bodyguards for a while afterwards. They did try again. But so I survived an assassination attempt, but they decided that, and it was very anti-Semitic as well. They said, you Jews are stiff-necked people. You killed Jesus. You murdered Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh.
And this is all happening. So anyway, so this made headlines in all the Christian publications worldwide, as well as our papers. Psychic show chaos. So,
wow.
So I'm risking quite a lot by actually sharing all the parts of myself. And the most important part for me actually is the rabbinical part, which is what I draw on, is that well of knowledge, and on the mystical part of Judaism and the Kabbalah that helps people. But I think it is important to know how easy it is for people to have misconceptions. And for me to have been willing to enter into this arena alongside those who, obviously they didn't do this, but those who did want me rather to leave the earth because they did not understand me.
It's the intolerance.
So everything comes full circle. Yeah.
Wow.
Comes full circle.
Jeez, and now being the female rabbi, I'm sure also the other rabbis,
yes,
they also, I mean, how's that been going?
So there's more understanding, for worldwide. But the thing is, as usual, I am who I am. I am who I always have been since I was born. And I am not a reform rabbi. I'm a mystical rabbi. So I'm in between everybody. The Orthodox rabbis will never accept a woman rabbi in this way. And reform is a totally different thing. They obviously understand that women can be rabbis. But what is wonderful, I think, for me is that I turned 60 this year. Okay, and when I turned 60, I now have the benefit of hindsight. And this is what's so glorious. So I realized I'm here to leave my legacy. I'm not here to regurgitate anybody else's sermons, philosophies. I'm here to be the rabbi I need to be. I have got I am ordained. I can do, and there are those who need me, find me. I'm not going to do anything as either. I'm not going to be prescribed to. And so my path has been a lonely one, but I've always known I've had purpose since I was born. I knew there were two things. What I wanted really was just to walk the musical path, to play the piano and to be an opera singer. I wanted to be on the stage only, but I always had this other part of me, which was my calling to God. And I understand it now to be my ministry, and I was never allowed to really run away from it. I did try. And so now I'm combining the two, and that is why I did the doctorate in sacred music, because music is a language I want to say all people understand, but with some of the backlash in the world, as you've said, there are certain groups that believe music, who are really have gone back in history, that music is evil. Music reaches everybody. Rhythm and sound reach everybody, and so that language, and maybe that is what will reach the creatures that are coming from very far. Because I don't think that they can do what we can do, and that is sing. What are the odds? We don't know the odds. So we live in the space, and they probably will find us terrifying. Imagine an alien eye view of these things, like with orifices and eyes. Imagine to see these things. I mean, it could be terrifying.
We smile at them, and they're like, "They're gonna eat us." We're like, "No, we're just saying hi." We
don't smile like that. Jesus, that's like creepy.
What are you talking about? That's my normal smile. What are you saying?
But you know what's wonderful is, in the Bible, there's nothing that says there aren't any. So the Jewish Bible is not in conflict with the understanding that there are other beings in the universe. And we had lots of flaming chariots and all of that in the prophetic visions, and wheels within wheels, etc. So it's not going to threaten that particular religion if or when the contact is properly established. Some religions will find it very difficult to cope with the reality. But for me, the Bible still has got a very it's a good guidebook. There's a lot to it, and for me the power of the Hebrew is beyond all else. The power of the language, even for those who don't understand it, even listening to hearing the sacred liturgies in Hebrew is transformative for people. In our traditions, believe that God spoke the world into existence through the use of the Hebrew alphabet. And so I do use a lot of that. And again, the people are not even Jewish, but they hear it and they get it, and it's transformative, and they react in the ways that their heart recognizes and synthesizes for them. Sure.
Exactly, yeah. Well, so what a time to be alive.
Yeah. And then, so how do people get hold of you? So what's the? You got to send us some links, obviously, but how can they get hold of you?
Right. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and I have two websites, www.belindasilbert.com. And that one is for people who want to have personal one-on-one consultations, including prophecies for their own lives. And the other one is www.drbelindasilbert.com. And that is for those who would like to concentrate more on the pastoral counseling angle, and for those who would like to be counseled through traumas, etc. So I wear many hats, and the website's an example of wearing two hats, which might seem divergent, but always they converge. A person is a unified whole, always a sum of parts, and the only one who's greater than the sum of parts is God, because we all are part of God, and yet there's still something greater, but we are a sum of parts. So those, you can check out my sum of parts when you look at those two websites. So on Facebook, I'm under Belinda Silbert, have a private page, and my public page as well, where I have my writings.
Okay.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Belinda.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, man. Yeah, just awesome.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to chat.
Yeah, it has been. We finally got you on, so thank you for coming.
Pleasure.
Cool. Rabbi, have a good week, rest of your weekend.
You too. Blessings to everybody.
You too. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye. Cheers, bye.
Awesome, man. Okay.
Yeah, man.
World War III on its way. Poof, we're on the highway to hell.
No, I'm like
way to hell.
Scared, man.
Highway to hell.
Oh, pretty scary time to be alive.
But I think it's an interesting time to be alive, mate.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I wait to see what this Atlas 3 brings in.
Yeah, because even, like I was saying, even Dr. Avi Loop, who I tried to get him back onto the show, because we had him back in, season 2, I think. Yeah. But he's so busy in interviews and stuff now. He said he couldn't at the time, but he was also saying that it's some sort of alien craft.
No, but he thinks everything's alien. I'm joking. He just saw Moore was alien, but yeah, it's very interesting. And you hear all these things that they going on about, like all the things that it's doing at the moment. That's just unheard of. It's not natural. It's very strange.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, it was great to have Belinda on, and just such a wisdom. I mean, I've done a few classes with her, and she's just incredible, and very, she's very knowledgeable about so many things. So it's very cool to talk to her.
Yeah. So those who want to get hold of her, got the websites. I'll put them in the links below. Yeah, that's it, man.
All right.
That's it for another episode of Strange and Mysterious World. Until next week.
Yeah. Cheers, Lee. Thanks, Brad.
Cheers, buddy. You too.